Hello everyone, my name is Fox. In this video, we're going to be talking about the Asus ROG Ally X. Effectively, this is the Super Ally. Now, it has the same chipset and the same screen for all intents and purposes. It's going to be pretty hard to recommend for most people that own an Ally already. However, Asus has done a bunch there, and they invited me out to an event that was in Manhattan. It took me about 40 minutes to get there. I live very, very close, so it was very convenient for me to arrive there. I did meet up with a bunch of other content creators as well there, and that was really cool. But before we get any further into this video, we do need to have a pretty serious discussion, and this is ethics in content creators. So full disclosure here, I am going to Computex. In fact, by the time you see this video has been recorded many days prior, but by the time you see this video, I will already be at Computex. And how I got to Computex is by Asus sponsoring me to fly and stay there. Now, I am paying for some of my hotel stay there, but Asus is by and large paying for the majority of that. And I need to disclose that to you because it's important to let you guys know what's going on. And it's more important that we talk about this, especially with where Asus finds themselves with regard to their warranty situation that is going on right now. It is not an ideal space. When I have often recommended handhelds, it's always the Steam Deck OLED, Asus ROG Ally, or the Lenovo Legion Go. And I always tell people to go this way, and the main reason I tell people to go this way is for customer service and warranty issues. And right now, with how the warranty situation has been shown through Gamers Nexus and Steve and the team over there, showing how bad their warranty is, it's not great because I've been recommending people to go this route because I was thinking that customer service would be far better, because even like companies like GBD, they do have a warranty, but it's not great. Whenever you have an issue, you have to ship it to China to get them to service it. They will ship it back to you with free 2-day shipping, but it takes 3 weeks to get to them, and it's a cost on you to ship to them. And if you have like a GPU Win Max 2, that's a heavy device, and that could cost $100 to ship to them for them to fix it and then get two free 2-day shipping back. But that whole process still takes about a month. That process sucks. And the problem with that is that GBD is a small company and their only existence is in China. So that's the only way that they can actually handle these things. But for Asus, it's looking like their warranty situation is actually worse than that. So that puts this whole thing in a really weird situation. And hopefully with all of the attention that this is getting, Asus does a much better job here, because I would like to continue to recommend them, especially because just finding it at Best Buy, going to Best Buy and buying it, the simplicity of buying it is part of the ease of people just getting it. There can be a lot of people that are worried about placing an order and having something come from China to them and worried about the whole logistics of that. And then what do they do if they ever need to get anything done? That can be scary. And if you're dealing with Best Buy or Amazon, they know that, and they know how to deal with customer service with that. So those types of avenues are often why I have always recommended that. So now that we've talked about the warranty situation that Asus has going on, and hopefully they can get ahead of this, because, I really like the Ally X, but it's going to be kind of mired in this kind of aura of what warranty do they have? Your best bet is just to work with Best Buy, and if you have any problems, go to Best Buy first before trying to deal with Asus at all. That's the reality of the situation that we're living in right now, which is not ideal. Getting outside of that, the other part that I want to talk about, going back into the ethics part of this, is if you were to look on the GPD score, just put in from Fox and put trust is a currency. Trust is a currency is a phrase that I've said for a very long time. And in fact, it's something that I have been lucky and fortunate enough that wisdom was imparted upon me at a very early age, and it has formed the foundation of my principles. I don't do paid reviews. I refuse to do paid reviews. In fact, the only time that I've tried to do sponsorships is something where it was separate from whatever the hell I was reviewing. So if it was like glasses or something, I try to do a VPN. But ultimately, I've stopped doing sponsorships altogether just because there have been multiple sponsors that didn't pay me, and I didn't really care to hound them down to honor the contract that they signed. So ultimately, I just stopped altogether. And where I find myself right now, and even some people like in the audience that you guys are watching, some of you feel that if a device gets sent to me, that is payment. And the reality is, it takes me 2 weeks to do these things. If you think that my time, like 80 hours of my time, is worth $700, it isn't. It really isn't. That takes a lot of time. And for the most part, there's some devices that are keep on loan, meaning that I have to ship them back. So I didn't even have anything to begin with. All right, so with the full disclosure and ethics and all the other stuff that's going on with Asus out of the way right now, it's important that we talked about it, but let's go ahead and talk about the Asus ROG Ally X now. At the event that we were there, we didn't really get a chance to really test performance at all. There's nothing that we could possibly do. That is not for this particular video. That'll be another video when I actually get a review unit in, and I'll be able to test all the things. For all intents and purposes, we should only anticipate a minor bump in performance between the extra system RAM that we have, so we can always allocate 8 gigs of VRAM, as well as the speed bump there. Those two things should offer a modest bump up. Don't anticipate all that much, but we'll see where it lands us when we have full reviews. So I'll do full benchmarks that you'll be able to anticipate between all of those when the time comes. To get that out of the way, the display and the chipset aren't going to be all that much different. However, there are a number of things that Asus has done to really improve things. And the first part that I want to talk about is they kind of just threw the gauntlet down and said, hey, we're putting an 80 watt-hour battery in the Asus ROG Ally X. Now, this is something that I speculated would be the case because of what The Verge said. It said they would double the battery life expectations. And to do that, you would literally need to go to an 80 watt-hour battery. And they did. And the killer part here that they did is that it didn't really add all that much weight, which is insane. That is a huge accomplishment, and Asus deserves kudos for this. So they actually had the shells of both of them, and when we felt both of the shells of the original Asus ROG Ally versus the Asus ROG Ally X, there is a significant weight reduction in the chassis of the Ally X. So that part is really cool. And then there's also additional things like they made the fan smaller but has more blades. So there's lots of things where they're min-maxing everything around there to make things better and weigh less. So they're really doing an amazing job in a lot of areas, but specifically how they got to double the battery life but only marginally increase the weight. Now, I want to make this clear. I have always been biased to having bigger batteries on devices, and I never really cared so much about having heavier devices. This device, when you hold it, doesn't really feel all that much heavier. It does feel a good bit heavier, but not like ginormously different. The other part here is to accommodate the bigger battery, they also improve the ergonomics of the Ally X. So where the Ally itself kind of has this almost flatter hump on the back, that gets extended quite a bit on the Ally X. And ultimately, it is far more comfortable to hold. And when we're feeling all the buttons, they're far more contoured to how your hands would be holding the device. That alone, by itself, for me, is enough for the Ally to the Ally X, for the Ally X to exist at all. When we look at battery life, a lot of people don't view it this way, but this is something that I've said on Twitter, and a lot of people didn't really agree with me then. I said that when Switch had the Marico version that came out, that effectively had a 70% battery life improvement, and that is a generational improvement. And while I said that, and when going from 3 hours to 5 hours of battery life, a lot of people were like, yeah, but they want better performance. They want 70% better performance. What we're finding is you're getting 100% better battery life on the Ally X. That is a generational improvement. That is, in some respect, a Ally 2, but not really an Ally 2. We're just getting better battery life. And I know that a lot of people don't feel that way about it, but that is something that I greatly care about. And despite what you may think, that is a generational improvement. Even if it was brute force to get there, they did min-max everything around it to get to that point. Now, while there are a number of improvements on the Ally X, and we're going to be talking about those in just a second, the next thing that I want to talk about is where they have gotten rid of their old eGPU solution and instead went to USB 4 via Thunderbolt for eGPU solutions, which I think a lot of people are going to like because they're going to be able to use any eGPU solution as opposed to just using Asus's proprietary stuff. Now, we do have to mention here, because it's the Z1E, if you're going to be using any AMD GPU, you are likely going to be having problems with the drivers, because when you plug in, say, the AMD 7600 MXT, it's going to want to install the latest Radeon drivers, which are not compatible with the Z1E. Now, you can do things where you can install both drivers and switch between them when you're going between those, but it's really hacky and it's not great. And any type of driver update, you have to redo all that hacky stuff. So it's really not the best situation. So if you were looking to use USB 4 eGPUs, I would strictly say only stay with NVIDIA side and don't do anything else because you're going to have a pretty rough time. But the side benefit is, even if you didn't want to use the eGPU, you have 2 USB-C ports now. So that means that you can have one plugged in for power reasons and another for docking purposes or whatever else you needed. There are multiple reasons why we want to have more than just one USB-C port. And I think a lot of people are coming to grips with that now because most of the popular handhelds only have one USB-C port, and that's just not enough. So that is also another way to look at it, and I think that's overall an improvement rather than their proprietary connector that they had. The next thing I want to talk about is the controls, which cascade into some other upgrades that they did as well. So the thumbsticks themselves have been improved. They have a bigger grip along the ridge on the end, but those thumbsticks on the bottom of them, if you get to it, it has little screws. You can actually unscrew the analog stick and then 3D print your own and screw that into the analog housing that they have on the official one. Just change the tops to whatever you like. So again, they're really supporting the mod scene here and letting other people kind of really go crazy, min-maxing everything that they want. But even if you wanted to, you can actually replace those full analogs and get Hall-based sensor ones from a third-party company that has been doing lots of those things. So they've already have that in the pipeline. Now, one of the things that we have to talk about, again, when you're taking off the back shell of the Ally X, there's actually a ribbon cable that will connect to this, the back paddles. And they needed to do that because if people want to make their own back paddle, they could effectively still support the buttons. Now, while that's a little bit sloppy, especially when you're trying to disconnect it, which you can also upgrade the now 2280 NVMe SSDs, which is a bigger upgrade from the 2230, so I'm glad they went that way as well. Taking off the back housing will have a ribbon cable, which is not ideal, but it means that for people that want to mod a back cover for themselves, they can still support the back bumpers themselves. So again, everywhere you look, Asus has looked at trying to support the modding scene and everyone that goes crazy on the Ally and just making things better everywhere they possibly could. That is, in a nutshell, what the Ally X is. It is a super Ally. It's not the Ally 2, it's just a super Ally. Thank you very much to my Patreon members as well as my YouTube channel members. I'll have more benchmarks later on of the Ally X, comparing them to the Ally. As always, guys, thank you for your time, and thanks for watching.